When an Arab parent calls us, we pick up the phone.
There's a lot of guilt that we experience for choosing ourselves.
We will not let anyone see us sweat, no matter what.
Some phrases Arab parents think are normal, but actually create shame.
Well, the word haram.
Like, is there hope where we can kind of break all these generational trauma?
For sure. I see it already in my practice.
As Palestinian myself, we're expert in pain. If every Arab child could grow up hearing one emotionally healthy sentence every day, what should it be?
No matter what happens in life, you're safe here.
Tiffany Totah, welcome to Unboxing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making this happen. I've been looking forward to have this conversation with you because I feel like it's needed in our community. So let's do this.
Let's do it.
So Tiffany, you are a marriage and relationship therapist. You have more than 20 years of experience working in this field. You work with hundreds of individuals and families, Arab families. But beyond that, like if I asked you to put aside your profession, your ethnicity, your religion, and other labels, who are you?
I think one of the things that defines me is my curiosity. And I love learning languages. I love learning about people from different cultures, traveling, different foods, music, art. And I think that definitely defines who I am as a person, and what makes me in the fullness of who I am is just that my curiosity.
It's beautiful. I can see that.
Yeah.
So you've been raised, let's go a little bit back to your childhood. You've been raised as a Palestinian American in an Arab household.
Correct.
How would you describe your childhood and that experience?
Well, it's interesting being first generation. My mother came to the United States at the age of 5. My father came at the age of 18. And so for us, we had a blend of, my parents were Arab and adhered to the cultural values, yet there was still, they've been in the States long enough where there was some assimilation that was happening. So I think for my siblings and I, we had a lot of opportunities to be able to explore things and do things outside of maybe what our community were able to do. But we were very much raised with our cousins. Our cousins were our friends. Family gatherings, azumat, all of that. That was very much the tradition.
A little Tiffany, like, how did you navigate living between two worlds?
Hard, because of my curiosity, my ability, my openness. I wanted to learn about everything and do everything, and that was looked down upon growing up. I struggled a lot with, I loved my Palestinian heritage, yet I did not necessarily like being Arab because of some of the limitations that I felt in how
What kind of limitations?
Well, gender roles, right? At the time, you have to remember, it was the 70s. Women were still expected to get married and have children, like things like career or doing things outside of the home weren't necessarily looked down upon, but they weren't necessarily encouraged either. And so for me, I didn't have a lot of guidance as far as there's this whole world, going away to college, doing all these things. In that respect, it was challenging because that just was not what we did back then.
And how was your relationship with, I can imagine, young, rebellious?
I was extremely rebellious. Yes.
I can see that.
Yes.
How did your parents deal with that?
My poor mom. I think she got the brunt of a lot of how I moved in the world, because people wouldn't necessarily say things to me. They would say things to her. Lish bint kik, why is she doing this? Right. And for my dad, he handled the rebellion with punishment. I think that was part of what they did back then. So there was a lot of physical punishment that came with me speaking up or coming home late or hanging out with people that weren't, you know, Arab or our cousins. So I think it did come with that. They struggled a lot with how I moved in the Arab space for sure.
But how did you? So you mentioned that you didn't like being Arab as as a young girl. Part of it, like there's a part of you who were like, okay, I love my culture, but I don't like being Arab. Later on in life, you are you started working with Arab families and
Mhm.
Arab individuals. What brought you back?
Yeah, well, I think it's always in us. And I think there's, at least in my identity development, I had to leave the culture to come back to it. It was always in me, especially as a Palestinian, that does not leave you. It's in you, it's in our cells, it's in our DNA. And so I think I had to explore and reject the culture to understand myself first, what were my values versus what the culture was teaching me. And I think in that cocooning process, I was able to come back to the culture in a way that where I embrace it fully and I'm able to help bridge the gap with some of the older traditions and the shifts that are happening amongst our youth. So
Is there
that's where.
a certain incident or something that happened where it led you to come back to the culture?
So yes, there was a one incident when I was working at Juvenile Hall in San Mateo is for incarcerated youth, and I was on the unit, and I guess an Arab mother was in the assessment center, really demonstrative, very overwhelmed with her
Yes,
feelings about her
I
son
can
being
imagine.
incarcerated, and so they were saying, "Who speaks Arabic?" They couldn't find a translator, and they came to me. I said, "Well, I don't speak Arabic. I can understand a little bit of it, but, I can't help." They were like, "You better go help see what she needs." So I went over there and I introduced myself, and I just saw, how just me being Arab helped bridge that connection to her, and she immediately slowed down and was able to connect with me in a way that I was like, wow, just by being Arab, there we are being able to connect in that way. And I felt like I wanted to give more back to my community in that way.
Growing up as Arab, what emotional patterns did you normalize before becoming a therapist? Before being becoming
Say
a
the
therapist,
question again. What?
what emotional patterns did you normalize before becoming a therapist?
Oh gosh, how much time do we have? uh, People pleasing was very much normalized. That was something I didn't realize what I was doing until I began my own healing journey, how much I gave of myself to others against myself. So I was giving, 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 and there was very little receiving. And that was something very normalized in our culture. I think the other thing that's, let's see, that was the biggest one, I have to say.
People pleasing. But I feel like in our culture, not only that you, like women in general, I also want your experience working with a lot of women. Women in general are have tendency to people pleasing.
Of course, we were many of us, right, were born nurturers. That's part of the essence of who we are as women, to give. Yet within yes, it happens in all cultures. However, within our cultural context, it's embedded. Our hospitality is embedded. Giving to our guests is embedded.
So speaking of people pleasing, I have this observation on Arab women in general, where like we have tendency to be people pleasing, and you have experience working with a lot of women. Do you see that too?
Oh,
And where is this coming from?
definitely. Well, I think part of it comes from conditioning, what they saw their mothers do, what we saw our grandmothers do, the giving, giving, giving. And it gave them pleasure to give. It gave them pleasure to do all the things they do for their families. And yet there wasn't a lot of permission to talk about the toll that it may have taken on them to continue to do those things. And I think that's where the younger generation, the conversation is shifted to saying, yes, we want to give, we don't want to lose that. However, it takes a lot of effort. And
How
so,
can we make the balance as women with like this nurturing nature.
Mhm.
But at the same time, how can we make that balance? Like, how can we be givers, but at the same time, don't abandon ourselves? What is like the line between giving others and not abandoning yourself and your needs at the same time?
Well, I think it's going to be different. Each person has a different threshold on what that looks like. But for me as a clinician, when I'm talking to someone, if they're not doing the things that that they normally do for themselves, if they're not taking care of themselves in the way that they did before, when they don't make any time for the things they enjoy doing and just doing all the things that other people enjoy, well, that's the line, is the moment they start to feel like,
But
where's my life?
you have a personal experience with moving from people pleasing to like kind of address that pattern and then work on it. Can you share what that looked like, the process, like in terms of process?
Correct. Well, I always let people know I'm not everybody's cup of tea as a therapist, because working within our cultural context, we have to go to an extreme to find our middle ground. So during my journey, when I had to do that, it was like I said no to everybody. Everybody got shut down in order for me to, because it was very anxiety provoking, a lot of guilt that came with that. And so when my therapist was helping me work through it, it was, you have to tolerate the discomfort. And so you can understand yourself enough of where your own line is. So in saying no and doing things for me, I was like, oh, this feels really good. Oh, I have energy. Oh, I'm sleeping better. Oh, I'm not worried about 5,000 people. And then I was able to say, okay, how much can I give? And then you open yourself up a little bit to allow people back in. But it's very easy to go back to that.
The pattern. Yeah, it takes time.
Of course, you may do an iteration of back and forth for a long time until you find your, what I call your sea legs. You get grounded underneath your legs.
I agree. Was there a moment where you realize many adults are functioning on the outside, but emotionally exhausted? Because in our culture and in the world in general, there's a lot of encouragement for being like productive and working and excelling in your career. But you can't, there's no one telling you that you have also to take care of your emotional part. So you're rewarded for your effort and your output and your achievements, but you may ignore your exhaustion because people don't see it. So you don't give it that much time. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts on that. We, as a culture in general, what I've observed in my practice is we are really good at the mask. And we will not let anyone see us sweat, no matter what, because that's part of this. If I show people my vulnerability, I'm weak.
Where is this coming from? Yeah, that's true. We have that a lot.
Well,
Men and women, not only men.
yes,
or
of
women.
course, of course. Well, part of it is just what happens in our home countries. I mean, most people were living in survival, or still are living in survival.
Okay.
And so when you're living in, you don't have the luxury of thinking about your emotions. You don't have the luxury of having these existential thoughts about what the meaning of life. People are in survival, and I think that's where it gets passed down from generation to generation. This survival mentality. That's why we're seeing this push from the younger generation to say we need to take a look at how we're moving as a society, because they're saying our feelings matter, our emotional space matters. And so we're seeing now we're at the crossroads of this adjustment.
So we can say, Tiffany, that we have two sides. The old generation, which is where they like basically on survival modes for the most part. And the younger generation where they're like, if they're awakened and like they're aware, they don't want to be on a survival mode. And there's this gap between these two generations. How can we bridge that gap?
So having conversations like this and recognizing that we are in a shifting of how we're moving. And the younger generation, I think for the older generation, it's understanding that they did such a great job in creating safety with their children, physical safety, making sure they had resources and things. They did a great job. So the reason why their children have the luxury of being able to say, Mama, Baba, I want to talk about my feelings. Well, it's because you did such a good job creating safety in the home. And I think it's about educating them that when your child comes to you or your adult child comes to you saying how you moved when they were younger doesn't mean they don't love you. They're just saying, this is how it impacted me. So, but a lot of Arab parents internalize it as like they did something wrong or they failed.
Yes.
When really it's a deepening that the adult Arab child or that the Arab child is seeking from their parent. And so to bridge that gap begins with having these conversations.
So Tiffany, what are the consequences of not allowing the children in their home and not acknowledging their feelings? Like, what are the consequences of not having conversations about feelings and ignoring the children's feelings at a young age?
What we're seeing now are more and more young adults or moving away from their families and not wanting to be away from their families. And it's part of my platform is being able to say, okay, I know everyone's running for the hills. Let's kind of slow down. Let's call one another back to each other. And except in extreme abusive cases. So some of the consequences, emotional distance, children cutting off their families. We have aging parents left alone. I think those are some of the largest consequences that I see is the separation. And then the next generation becomes more disconnected from their cultural background. So you're seeing for second, third generation out, some of those children may not even be close to their cultural ties as a result of this disconnect. So it doesn't just have the consequence of the first generation, but you're going to see it go down the line.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. And when it comes to us Arabs, there's always, I feel like, guilt. There's a lot of guilt that we experience for choosing ourselves. Like because older parents will be like, the older generation will be like, we did this for you. We sacrificed a lot, and we did everything we have to give you the life that you have here. But you have on the other side, the other person wants to live the life the way they want. But at the same time, they have a lot of guilt associated with that. Now, if you talk to a Western a therapist in America, it will be like, yeah, go live your life, be true to yourself. They make it sound like it's easy. And I'm so happy that I have someone who is culturally oriented. Like, you understand when someone talks about like what kind of dynamic in the family we have and how it's not easy for someone to come and say, you know what, this is who I am, and that's how I want to live. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I tell my Western colleagues, I said, listen, when an Arab parent calls us, we pick up the phone. If our Arab parent asks us for something, or any one of our family members, we help them.
Yes.
We answer the call. Like to ask an adult Arab child to still go live their life, leaving their parent in that way, that is profoundly distressing to a child.
Extreme.
Very extreme. And so I always introduce the concept to my clients, and myself included, Arab finesse.
What is it?
You're going to feel guilty because you're not doing anything wrong. Guilt is doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong if you decided to take the morning to go to the gym or take a class or do something for you and not answer the phone if your morning time is your sacred time to restore before you start your day.
Yeah.
And so Arab finesse is, you may feel guilty for not picking up the phone, but it's really the shame that you're feeling for not being the perfect child, or the shame of feeling like I'm a failure.
Okay.
So Arab finesse is, they're going to be fine. You're going to spend 2 hours of your morning to yourself, and you will be better for them later. So it's about not too much time, because if you spend 3 days all by yourself, that might be too much, right? But it's these increments that you can give to yourself, so your nervous system has an opportunity to get used to giving to yourself, and that takes finesse, and it takes
it's like
small doses.
Small steps. What's the common trauma response you see in Arab families that people don't recognize?
Well, I think that's a hard question to answer because it depends on the trauma. So I think what I see,
Like it's a common trauma, but like in how in our culture they downplay. Like they will be like, this is not. It's normalized, but as you as a therapist, you know that this is like trauma. It's not like something normal.
I think we normalize yelling and screaming, and that to me is a trauma response. That's an overwhelmed nervous system. That's stress that's been overridden for years at that point. I think we normalize the yelling. Oh, that's just how we are. Yet when you raise a child in an environment where there's a lot of yelling, that can be profoundly distressing to that child, where they may grow up avoidant of any kind of conflict because conflict was shown in unhealthy ways. And I do think that's a trauma response.
What are some phrases Arab parents think are normal, but actually create shame and anxiety? Phrases.
Okay, so, well, the word haram, right? كل شيء حرام. عيب. Well, and they still say haram too. Like, so I know that gets complicated. So let's rewind. I think Arab parents say things to their children like, why are you shy? Speak up, right? Why aren't you more like your cousin? So it's the comparison
part. Yeah.
A lot of the comparison part. I would say Arab parents will say the child will accomplish something with their degree, and they'll say, well, you need to do better. Where's your PhD, right? Or they'll get a job. Where's your promotion? So they move this goalpost, if I answer your question correctly, that there's this way in which they want the adult child to progress, yet that's fine in and of itself. However, can you honor their accomplishments, celebrate them a little bit more, give them a little bit space before you move the goalpost?
I agree. I'm coming from like a typical Arab family household. Like my mom used to compare, but she didn't inherit, like from her point of view, she thinks this is like competition, and she encouraged us to compete and be better. So in her way of thinking, this is like to motivate us. And I think that's the case for a lot of moms. Like they would be like, yeah, look what your sister did. She got her PhD. Why don't you go work on your PhD too? So from their perspective, they want the best for their kids, but they're using wrong approaches. And what would you say to them?
To the parent?
Yes.
Depending on how open or closed they are to feedback, normally I don't address it with the parent. I address it with the adult Arab child to say, how does that impact you? But to the Arab parent, because they're coming from that place of, I want the best for my children. Again, offering them feedback, they may internalize it as a shame response. I did something wrong. I did the best that I could. That's why I work with the younger generation to say, how did that impact you? So that you can find a little bit more neutrality when your parent does say that, how to minimize your own shame response.
How do we minimize our own shame?
By standing in your own self-confidence in what you're accomplishing. And that's very difficult within our cultural context. So women will be shamed for not being married at a certain age. Actually, the young men now are also getting shamed for not being married at a certain age, not being accomplished by a certain age. I think what I try and explain to Arab parents is times, at least here in the United States, it's not the same when they first immigrated. There was, and yes, you worked hard, but things have changed. Young people cannot go get that house or an apartment or start there without having a stable income.
Yes.
And so it's not the same as it was. And I'm trying to impart on the Arab parent that how do you help uplift your child versus putting the competition, because that again will keep them stuck.
And in survival mode.
Definitely.
And scarcity mindset, because
Scarcity mindset
you will
is
keep
big.
thinking that, okay, my sister is winning, imagine, or my cousin is winning, and
Winning.
since winning,
Sorry, I have to put that winning.
yes, winning, and I'm losing,
Yes.
and their win is affecting my opportunity to win too, because there's a comparison. As opposed to you put a goal for a person and you tell them like growth mindset and abundance mindset, where like you have to work to get where you want to be regardless of what other people are doing. So I think most of the time it's the parents don't know the impact or the consequences of comparison on the long term.
Well, it affects sibling relationships. It creates competition between the cousins. It can breed uh, challenging relational dynamics within the family, because if you're from when you're little and you're constantly compared, you're going to start to not like that cousin. Like, I hate her, you know?
Even siblings, you'll start hating your
That's
your
right.
perfect brother.
That's right. You're
Perfect
perfect.
son.
You're like, oh, he's so
like,
perfect. I'm going to show you perfect. And this is where I think the Arab parent, and they wonder why there's sibling rivalry or sibling strife,
Yeah.
or people don't want to hang out with their cousins, because then it's that constant reminder of I'm not who you need me to be.
Yeah.
But people need to be who they want to be for themselves.
Yeah.
Because the family's values may not necessarily be in alignment with
Yes.
your values.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I usually start in my clinical work, is how do we, some may overlap, others may not. And so how can you stand in that? Again, it's very challenging within because you're constantly reminded you're not good enough if you're not doing exactly how they want you to do things.
Do you think we can change that culture? Like, I'm a young mom now. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. Do you think the new generation, can we, like, is there hope where we can kind of break all
sure.
these generational trauma?
For sure. I see it already in my practice. I see, and I'm inspired every day by the people's comments and the DMs that I receive of how fathers are becoming more engaged with their children. Arab fathers are becoming really engaged in the emotion, not just providing, but also in the emotional space of their children, being a support to their partners. Arab women giving to themselves so that they have more capacity to give to their families and their husbands and their children. So I get DMs of, oh, I didn't realize I was like my mom, and now I'm shifting how I talk to my daughter. Thank you for bringing that to my awareness. And it's we are very early as far as emotional health and wellness and mental health stigma. And yet I'm very hopeful that that I would say your generation and younger
Yes.
are really going to create those shifts.
And we're trying. Like me having you today, we have this conversation because I want other moms who are like me, living in like coming from a different culture and raising their kids in a new country with new values. I want guidance. I want guidance as a mom, and I know other moms want guidance. We want help. And by like normalize having conversation about the things that we lack in our culture and the patterns that we need to bring to awareness, we may make change, because awareness is the first step, right?
Awareness is the first step. And I think if a child, one thing I can encourage parents, if your child gives you an emotional, if they give you feedback, to hold the space for that and to recognize sometimes we become defensive as parents.
Yeah.
And, oh, look what I do for you and look how much I've done for you. And you're ungrateful because they're crying or they're not happy with
what you are giving.
Correct. And so it may be asking, what does that child need? Because we tend to give through material. We tend to give through things that may not be meaningful to, maybe they want your time, maybe they want your presence. And we have become so distracted in our, not just our, I mean, in our society with phones, and there's so much noise, that how much are we staying present to our children? And I think if your child does give you feedback, breathe through it, recognize that they're giving their, you're creating that emotional safety. And then you work together on how to make it better and how to improve communication.
You mentioned emotional unavailability for a lot of fathers, like Arab fathers in general. They're good providers. We're built to provide. But even from my interview with young Arab American, they have always this feedback that their fathers were there for them physically, but emotionally, coming from another country, trying to survive, providing for the family, not everyone has that privilege of being also emotionally available for their kids, because it's easier said than done. Walk me through the process if you have a father who's like seeking help and he's available physically, but he's emotionally not available. Like he wasn't even taught how to deal with his emotion to be available for his kids.
Of course, yeah,
And
none
it's
of us
sad,
were
but
taught that, really. I totally get it. I think part of that is stress levels. If it's about lowering the stressors, and what are those stressors? And then the father can also have a capacity. How is he giving to himself?
Yes.
In the same way, he has needs. He has ways in which he restores.
Yes.
And if there's work, I know that was my father, work.
Achievements.
Achieve 60, 70 hours a week, right? And there were maybe moments of presence. And so I think part of it is lowering the stress levels.
You work with a lot, you specialize in anxiety, right? And you help individuals like navigate the anxiety and deal with it. What's your best advice for people who have a lot of anxiety?
Well, part of it is your nervous system is really smart. It's pointing you to where you need healing. And so when you have anxiety or nervousness, I mean, provided, I always say, get a full assessment, right? Because there could be underlying issues as to why there's the anxiety. However, I always let people know, if you're feeling butterflies in your stomach, or tension in your shoulders, or you have the ruminating thoughts, it's pointing you to what you may be having you buried underneath. And so it's about unearthing the challenging things that you may have suppressed for a long time. And then there's normal anxiety. I mean, but when it's distressing and impacting, I always say, take a look. What is it pointing you to? Where do you need to heal? And a lot of times it's saying, I'm people pleasing too much. I'm giving too much. I'm stressed. So your body is saying, I need you to slow down. And that's what our anxiety is telling us. Can we slow down?
Okay, we have another issue in our culture. We feel guilty for having rest. I'm not talking about myself, but I'm taking like in behalf of my community. We're hustlers, okay? And it's beautiful to work hard, but I see a lot of people, especially in our culture, like feel guilty for having rest after a lot of work. So where is this coming from, and how can we handle it? How can we normalize relaxing, having like a break, and normalizing even like doing nothing for a couple of days after a big project, and not feel guilty about it?
It's extremely difficult, but I learned that at 13 years old when my parents sent me back home to Ramallah. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, they're underneath the grape leaves, the wind, and they're drinking their tea, and they're having their mazza, they're doing all these things. And I thought, wow, they're really relaxed. They're resting. That was, as an Arab American, that was not my experience with our families, that this idea that you're always doing something. So it was really there at 13. I said, oh, you can do that? You can rest on Sunday or drink tea or hang out? That's okay? Without having all this chaos and swirl. So I think where it comes from, again, it comes from survival. What does rest even mean? Rest equates to lazy. If you're not doing anything, right, you're lazy. When maybe that child needs time to restore. I know growing up, we were never allowed to sit. Even at family holidays or gatherings, we always had to be doing something. Dishes, cleaning, serving.
If I come from the same culture where like, or the same environment where rest is not encouraged, how, as an adult, can I train myself to be okay having rest and like break from work without guilt?
Difficult. It's about giving yourself permission to, and then you may be sitting like this, like, okay, I'm sitting down. I'm not, okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. Like it may be, again, your nervous system may need time to adjust. So you take it in smaller increments. Can you allow yourself an hour to rest and say, I'm going to give this to restore? You see how you do. Then, okay, I'm going to stretch it out. And then rest doesn't always have to be sitting down. Rest could be doing the things that you enjoy.
Giving you pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be sleeping or taking a nap. It could be, I'm going to spend an hour painting, or I'm going to spend an hour writing.
I started doing dancing for me. Like I'm not a good dancer, but I enjoy dancing and I wanted to learn. So last year I started doing different kind of dancing, and not because I have a goal with that. I just feel better. That's enough. Like when I dance, after I finish a dance session, I feel so much better. I feel joy. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do more of that. But there's no like strategy or goal or competition that I'm signing up for. So I encourage other women and other people, like, go find something fun that gives you energy. That's a rest for me. That looks like me taking a break.
That's right. That would be an example of rest. Yet, as a culture, we may not value things like dance or art or music. So you can rest in the library studying for another degree, or you can rest, creating a new business. But what we're talking about is everyone's rest is going to look different. But I love what you said. It's what are the things that bring you joy, and so that could be lots of things.
I feel like in our culture and in the world in general, nowadays I feel like they even romanticize pain. Like, listen, pain is part of our life, okay? We may not agree on that, but like, for me, this is my take. Pain is an integral part. Like, you will go through pain as you live throughout life, but it's not something that you should just enjoy, like, or look for it. Because when you're used to pain, some people think it's rewarding. Like, if it's more painful, or if I go through more pain, I will get rewarded. I will channel that to my purpose. But at the same time, they forget the importance of also prioritizing joy. Like, joy is important too. So I feel like sometimes it's between balance. Like, for me, if I go through a painful situation, I acknowledge the pain and I learn from it, but I don't romanticize it. And I don't think I have to go through pain and hardships to get certain results or better results. I actually work on, as Palestinian myself, we're expert in pain. So that's not something that I need to practice. But I feel I had to work on actually prioritizing joy and feeling okay doing things just because they bring joy.
I love that, and a lot of it is we're used to being in effort. So when we're in a place of ease, that can feel like we're not working hard enough, but it's a place of ease. I do see that with the younger generation. There's this way in which they do things with ease, and they have technology to make things easier, and they have resources to, it may not look like they're in effort, right? They're doing something, but they're actually being quite creative. It's just not this painful, laborious, you know.
Yes.
So it's and so that's where parents may criticize the adult child for you're being lazy. They don't think they're working hard,
Yeah.
but they could be working hard in their own way.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be
Painful process.
painful
Yeah.
process. That's right.
So, since you work with a lot of Arab families, why do many Arabs in the West feel like they are too Arabs and for Americans? And then with Americans, they feel like with Arabs, they feel too Americanized, and they have to live between these. Like a lot of people, the way to deal with it, they have double life, where they have this mask they wear with the Americans and the other mask for the house. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think language barriers have a lot to do with it, right? If I know I'm studying Arabic now, and there can be you're so American, you guys don't speak Arabic. There were reasons why that was happening. So there's like a distrust or already
Yes,
like
yes.
this, like you guys are different because of the language. I also think that there may be it's a different way of being.
Yeah.
So I always have to remind the folks that make comments on my platform. You out in the West said we take care of our parents. We function very similarly, and we need to focus more on what makes us similar versus what makes us different. Because I can tell you that I've learned a lot over the last few years of doing the platform, that we're more similar than we are different. But navigating, perhaps when you go back home, you may dress more conservatively. You may not talk about certain topics you would when maybe here in the United States, people talk about, everything. Certain topics may be taboo.
Yes.
Certain families may be more rigid and less open. And so that's just part of how we navigate as human beings so that we can be together.
But some people suppress so much. So adapting is a skill. Sometimes when you live in two different cultures, I'm here adapting. Like it's not easy to, let's say, be authentic and real and true while you're trying to adapt so much. There's like a level where like it's like a thin line between you're being flexible and you're abandoning yourself to please others.
That's right.
Because when you try to fit in too, and like I was born and raised in Jordan, and there are a lot of Arab American here coming from different like countries from the Middle East, and then you have the other the country, the Americans, where like if you hanging out with them, you might try to fit in so that you get accepted. But at the same time, I'm against it. I don't believe that you have to fit in. I think you have to have that balance where like you're grounded, but it's not easy to feel like that. The step where you feel like grounded enough to show up like the same person in every environment, whether it's your Arab family gathering or your American friends gathering or college. How do you help younger people navigate that?
So it goes back to what awareness of oneself. So what does that belonging mean to you? Is it you want them to accept you? They might not be the people you want to connect with and belong with, and that's okay. And even if you feel like, well, there's nobody else, well, it's about being aware of that. And then where can you find the fullness of who you are, right? And that's where finding those micro moments where you could be fully who you are with maybe one or two people. I think not only is it awareness, it's about, again, the shame is a part of it. Is it shame? What core beliefs do you have about yourself that you're going to suppress who you are to be accepted by other people? And I know as a Palestinian American, all bets are off now. Now we say, okay, back then we couldn't say we were Palestinian. Like there was a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
Now I said, well, yeah, I'm Palestinian. This is who I am. This is how we are.
Yeah.
We're demonstrative. We're open. And if you don't like it, well,
Bye.
sorry.
مع
You know,
السلامة.
yeah, yeah. You know,
I love
so
that.
I feel like that takes time and growth and recognition. It took a long time even for me to get to that point in
100%. That's what
corporate environments
that-
where I had to hide myself, or, oh, I can't, you know, okay, I'm Arab, like,
Yes.
because I'm racially ambiguous, right? So it was easy to just avoid the conversation. And I'm saying, why am I doing that? Was there some shame, or am I afraid of backlash? Am I afraid that I can't be in
Oh, the
certain rooms?
stereotype also related to Arabs.
The way?
And Palestinian, the stereotypes that's like associated with Arabs, like growing up.
Oh,
a lot of
right.
stereotypes.
There's so
about,
much
like,
ignorance here
Yes,
around.
there is.
So, and also there was a part of me that recognized using discernment. And I think that's where I also help my clients. Yeah, let's use discernment in where you want to be in the fullness, because there's certain environments where that might not be good for you. And that's okay.
I agree. So we talked about emotional suppression and how a lot of people cope with challenges by avoiding or suppressing. What are the consequences of continuously suppressing your emotions?
Well, at some point, the body, and there's lots of studies with the mind-body connection, at some point when you suppress your emotions and you keep it in, where else is it going to go? It typically will manifest in illness in the body. And so I always let my clients know, what are you willing to risk to stay in this dynamic? If you're going to continue to people please, and your stomach ache now will develop into a gastrointestinal disorder or an autoimmune disorder or cancers. I think there's lots of studies that will show.
Thank you for bringing this up, because I feel like even in our culture, when you tell them like suppressing emotions will affect your physical health, that's where like, okay, my health, that's where like, and it will affect their productivity. That's where like, okay, I'm gonna give time and attention for this aspect. And it's very true. Like I have this, I always encourage people to read this book. I don't know if you read it before. It's The Body Keeps the Score for Gabor Mate.
That was Bessel van der Kolk that wrote that. Gabor Mate wrote so many books on post-traumatic.
I love him.
He wrote When the Body Says No.
When the Body Says No.
Yes, that's a very good book.
And how he talks about how stress, anxiety for a long period of time, it actually manifests in a physical illness. And people, like sometimes they don't give, especially in our culture, weight for the mental part, but when it affects their physical health, that's where like, okay, I have to do some work related to my anxiety and my emotional processing process. I also want to ask you, working with males and females in our culture, do men and women have different like emotional burdens?
It's a good question. They have similar emotional burdens. I think the way that maybe healing for each person may look like, it may be a little different. I try to move, the reason why I'm struggling with this question so much is I'm trying to move us away. Yes, there's men's emotional health and wellness, and there's women's. We are all suffering in many ways. I think for men, there's less permission to talk about, they have less support. They're not going to, I think the younger generation is shifting that, but for men to be able to talk to their friends about some of what they may be going on, there's not a lot of permission there. Whereas women, we have more permission to talk to our girlfriends and to be more open. So we can have a shared pain,
Yes.
right? Where men tend to
Hold
isolate, or maybe they'll have their partner or their wife be that holder of the emotional pain. And that could cause strain in the marriage as well, if it's too much.
When we talk about healing, Tiffany, not Instagram healing, post how to heal on Instagram, but what a healing process look like?
Long. torturous, hard, wonderful, back to horrible. It's
It's not a straight line.
never a straight line. I always let people know it's, you're healing. There's an unfoldment and the layers, and think of like the peel of an onion. There's just multiple layers, and the more we heal, more lessons may emerge. Yet we don't stay stuck in them as long. And that's what I always let folks know. Like, your healing journey is yours alone. It is not linear. And you may think that you've gotten through the lesson and I overcame that lesson. And guess what? The universe and the life will have it come back and say, okay, I'm just going to see if you're going to fall back into old patterns. So I would say it means you're elevating. It means you're moving forward. When the same patterns repeat, it's life saying, I need you to work on this. I need you to why is this always happening to me? Well, because part of it is really needing you to take a look within. And so, yeah, it's not easy. Healing is not for the weak. That's what I tell people.
It's not for the weak.
Therapy is not for the weak.
But what is an indicator that you're, let's say, you feel like when someone say, I work on my healing and I'm healed now. What is that indicator?
Oh,
how do you measure that?
Well, as a therapist, I know that there's certain things where people do feel like they have healed. However, I know as a clinician, people say a lot of things, but then when tested, you will see some unraveling or some unfolding of problematic behaviors or symptoms. We call it the flight of health. Someone will go to a retreat. They're like, I'm healed from all my wounds. And then the next family gathering, they're back to the teenager they were struggling with anti-falcorna, It's like...
So, okay, I have few questions like to sum up or like to end this. Okay, if you could change one message, our culture teach boys, and one message it teaches girls, what would it be? It is a deep one because I said one message, but one message.
I think one message I would love for Arab parents to really impart upon their sons is it's okay for them to have their feelings. It's okay for them to be vulnerable. That it doesn't diminish their masculinity. In fact, it enhances their masculinity when they can lean into their own limitations. And for young women, I would love for Arab parents to impart upon them that they are so much more than marriage. There's so much more than some of the, and it's not to say that marriage isn't beautiful and wonderful, but that there's to look at our young women.
It's not part of your self-worth.
That just because you're not married yet, it doesn't mean you have to hold that shame. And I would love for that to change.
What emotional pattern do you hope this generation of Arabs stop passing down?
I think we're already seeing it. I love the younger generation for this, that they're having these conversations and they're demanding them. They're saying, we're not going to stay quiet. We are going to talk about this. And that to me is wonderful. We're already seeing that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. If every Arab child could grow up hearing one emotionally healthy sentence every day, what should it be?
No matter what happens in life, you're safe here.
Yes. If you could teach every parent one thing, what would it be?
Do your own work. Do your own work.
If you could teach every child one thing, what would it be?
Do not allow others to define who you are, even if they're your family.
Beautiful. What's your biggest advice for parents, especially Arab parents, raising their children between two different cultures? Because listen, I love the idea when I see, for example, Palestinians family or Iraqi or Moroccan who still have this like roots culture and they're like proud of their culture. But at the same time, there's a difference between you stuck in 1948 or 70 and you have this bubble, okay? And there's a difference between that and acknowledging and be proud of your culture. So us as parents, when we want to build the beautiful things in our culture, us as Arabs, we talked about what we have as flaws, but we also have a very rich culture.
Beautiful.
Yes, we're family oriented. We're givers in general, men and women, honestly. And we're not transactional in our culture. Like you will do something for your neighbor who you don't know nothing about. So I love this culture, and we want these values to be to give these values for our children. At the same time, we don't want to be very we want that balance between passing our culture and give this culture for our kids, but at the same time, not making them stuck and not able to be in the American culture too. Does that make sense? Like, how can we do that?
Well, we started sharing a story about why I felt like as a young Arab American, I felt like I was in a cage, and because I wanted to let my wings fly. And I think for parents to recognize that your children here in the West, they're gonna be exposed to so many different things, not always negative. And I think there's so much fear in our culture.
Again, fear.
That
Yeah.
it's to say, even if they make mistakes, can they come home and feel safe? And so that's part of exploration. That's part of what they're going to discover.
I agree.
And so to answer your question is to recognize that they're going to be exposed to the things here. How do you teach them decision making, critical thinking, holding accountable and consequences, but not in a way that fosters learning, not so much punishment that they just hide it more.
Yes.
And then to also invite conversations about what they need. And I can tell you that they will honor the beauty of our culture, and if you give them space to explore those other parts of themselves.
I agree. Thank you so much, Tiffany. That was a great
this was fun.
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.